Movie is Project Hail Mary, which was written by Drew Goddard and directed by Chris Miller and Phil Lord. This sci-fi film follows science teacher Ryland Grace as he wakes up on a spaceship with no recollection of who he is or how he got there. As his memory slowly returns, he soon discovers that he has to solve the riddle behind a mysterious substance that's causing the sun to die out, ultimately threatening the survival of the human race. As details of the mission unravel, he calls on his scientific training and sheer ingenuity, but he may not have to do it all on his own as he forms an unexpected friendship in deep space. Project Hail Mary is based on the novel of the same name, which was written by Andy Weir, who also wrote The Martian, which also ended up being adapted into a feature film. This movie had a similar tone to The Martian in a lot of ways, with a surprising amount of humor for an intergalactic sci-fi drama, but at the same time, it definitely made me feel more than The Martian did, and I think that was almost entirely because of one addition to this film: Rocky. Rocky is an alien that Grace comes into contact with and ends up forming this very beautiful friendship with throughout the course of the movie. And I couldn't really believe how much this movie was able to make me care about this extraterrestrial being that doesn't really resemble a human in any way. Legitimately, by the end of the movie, I felt like I was ready to lay my life on the line for Rocky. That's how serious it was. Despite being a faceless rock with legs that we can't even understand for the entirety of the movie, the film managed to make him incredibly expressive and imbued him with such personality from his movements, gestures, and sounds. And honestly, I think a lot of that is owed to the heavy use of practical effects in depicting Rocky. For the most part, he was just a puppet that was masterfully moved to be very, very lifelike, and there was some complementing CGI, but really only when necessary. And in large part because they don't overly rely on the CGI, Rocky feels like a real alien that Grace is interacting with. And their relationship has so much more depth than it otherwise would have if they would have just green screened the whole thing. Rocky's so lovable, and he just came across like, again, so charismatic and likable, and you feel for this thing. You feel for this alien that you don't yet know. And genuinely, I felt incredibly protective of him by the end of the movie. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw him in the trailer, I thought it was gonna be kind of lame. I didn't think the movie was gonna be very good. I thought Rocky was gonna be kind of corny and the relationship was gonna be forced and it was gonna be like, oh, look how cute he is. And it wasn't gonna have any substance.
You're wrong.
I'm happy to eat my words. Like I was dead wrong. I'm all in on Rocky. That's what I'll say. And actually, in part because of that, I wasn't really convinced that I needed to see this movie in IMAX. I thought it would be, somewhat cool visually, but nothing really special. And once again, I was dead wrong.
Wrongo.
I wish so much I would have seen it in IMAX. Like, this is a movie that demands to be seen on the biggest screen possible. It truly is just like so, so gorgeous. And again, it features an incredible blend of practical and digital effects to make for some unbelievably breathtaking shots. The work of cinematographer Greig Fraser is just unparalleled. He's famously worked on films like Dune Parts 1 and 2, The Batman, Rogue One, and now he adds Project Hail Mary to that list of fantastic looking movies. He's always so meticulous with the lighting to make sure that it looks highly realistic, yet extremely cinematic, and his work with this film is no different. One particular example of this that comes to mind is the Xenonite tunnel in the film where Grace first meets Rocky. It could really only be lit by the nearby star that they were orbiting. In an interview, Fraser said that they physically couldn't get enough LEDs to light that appropriately where it would look realistic or at least look right. So instead, they built this insane rig of old school tungsten lights and then pixel mapped them so that the sun, the star, could rotate around the tunnel any way that they needed it to where it would actually look realistic and again look right. And that commitment from Greig Fraser and his team and those details are really what makes this film so immersive and rich visually. Similarly, the brilliant pink astrophage scene in the film heavily relied on practical effects too, where Gosling stood in a cage of chicken wire covered in blinking infrared lights. Then they poured water into a tube that runs between these two panes of glass that are in front of the camera that made the eye-dazzling scene so unbelievably impressive and beautiful to look at. The film was actually very funny, and I really didn't expect to laugh as much as I did. Gosling has just like great comedic chemistry and banter with everyone that he shares a scene with. His comedic timing and his charm is really one of the best aspects of the movie, in my opinion. Honestly, I really loved all of the film. That is, with the exception of maybe the last 5, 10 seconds of the movie, literally like the final scene, I was kind of like, why? It just felt so unnecessary and felt like almost like a Disneyfication of like the movie. And it just felt like it kind of undermined like the rest of the film. I don't know why. I really, really didn't like it. I'm sure some people probably did. Probably a bunch of kids loved it. I wasn't a fan. I didn't feel like the plot of the film held the emotional uh gravity like maybe some other similar films have, like Interstellar or Gravity. It's just like a lot lighter of a film than those, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I also don't think it's the type of movie that's going to dramatically change your perspective on life or anything like that. I thought overall it had very solid pacing, where the runtime didn't feel like it dragged at all, despite being over 2.5 hours. There were a lot of ups and downs, and you're on this sort of like roller coaster where you're going from one crisis to the next, and at the same time, there are these flashbacks that are revealing more and more about Grace's character. And I thought those were really well done too. And they actually surprised me in a lot of ways, which I really appreciated. I honestly think this was one of the best movies I've seen this year. And you absolutely need to see this on the biggest screen possible because of the phenomenal practical effects, the fantastically beautiful visuals, and wonderful dynamic between Gosling's character Grace and Rocky the alien. You can currently catch this one exclusively in movie theater. So go watch Project Hail Mary. If you enjoyed this video and you're not subscribed, I don't know what to tell you. Go ahead and subscribe. Super easy to do, helps support me making these videos, and you can make sure you don't miss out on the next one. Also, go ahead and like the video. That also really helps me out. And comment on the video, letting me know what you thought of this movie or what movie you think I should review next. I put out a movie review each week, so subscribe to stay tuned. Thanks, y'all.